Hey guys, it's Sebastian back here, and today we're doing Lost Hombres episode 9. And welcome. And today we're going to be doing a very special episode. I want to keep talking about the mind, the body, the spirit, and really what I've been learning the last couple weeks and how it influences who I am as a person and how these concepts have really influenced society, humanity, history. And I want to teach you guys some information I think has been lost through time, through history. I believe that we're in a current society where, again, I would consider it a society and not a civilization. And in my mind, a civilization is a group of people, a philosophy, a lifestyle in which they believe, from a grander perspective, that we as a human species, we as a collective can ascend to our greatest purpose, right? When we can actively care for one another, when we can actively be a part in a grander picture. I like to think of it as it's almost like the ants, right, working together, or it's almost like a jigsaw puzzle that when everyone's doing their part, it the picture comes into clear, right? This is what we're missing in today's society because again, it's a society. I've been researching and learning, it's a finite amount of progress that can happen within a society, right? And again, what's our purpose? Like let's say like we talk about our 9 to 5, we talk about what we're doing. Like what's the goal? Like what is the goal? Like what are we achieving? Like what is the United States goal? Like as a civilization, what are we trying to achieve as a collective? Are we just trying to achieve that people have like a 9 to 5, have like they're little, but like what is the United States purpose? Like what are we trying to do as a community? Like do we want to, make it so everybody has the healthiest, best outcomes? Are we trying to research things not to make money and profit, but to enhance the human race? For an example, right? We have this thing called Chat GPT. We have these AI programs. When they first started, right, Open AI, the whole concept was essentially to create a type of AI system that would enhance humanity, right? Like it would benefit humanity. And again, this is like a Trojan horse, right? So they're like, look at this cool thing that in theory should help humanity. In theory, the medical system should be advancing the technology, not profitizing the technology. We should have been using AI with different groups, and we should be spending money for the human race, not to turn a profit. And this is where when you start creating profit over quality, over like, the next step, like advancing, everything starts to fall apart. Because greed, right? The chaos does not lead to progression. Okay? If you are simply creating a product so that you can monetize this product later, that's not advancing humanity, right? And that's not to say that we can't have aspects of life where we can, have some kind of like profit incentive. Sure, but there's other parts of life that should never be profit incentive. And again, as a collective, as a human species, when we work with these different elements, again, when we want to cure a disease, it seems pretty fast for the culture to get together and get something done when it wants to be done. When people actually start dying and it's scary, all of a sudden we have all the tools in the world. It's kind of strange, right? Like when it's, or for example, we had this political figure recently who said, you know, we all die. Yeah, we all die, but we don't all have to die in agony. And again, this was interesting. This lady says that she is a Christian, right? You need to accept Jesus. Jesus would want you to heal people. Even he healed people. He didn't tell the blind guy, well, God made you blind, bro. Accept it. He healed people. He wanted to do the most he could with his spirit to lift people up around him. That's what Jesus wanted to do. He wanted to ascend people above, not look at them below. And here's what's crazy. This politician, she's saying, oh, you guys are all a bunch of whiners. I'm willing to bet that she has the best doctors. I'm willing to bet that she has the best access. And what is she going to tell herself? Oh, I was picked by God? No, 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 no. No, no, that's not how that works. Okay. You're selling your soul to a black hole. Okay. There's two ways this world works, there are black holes and there are suns, right? Suns are people that have ascended and ignited their soul to meet their higher purpose. So they're living their fulfilling life. They're like pushing themselves, they're enjoying life, they're finding themselves, they're finding their their purpose and meanings. Black holes are similar to cults. You could call a cartel a cult. You could call cult a cult. You could call any, like, literally, like, there's so many cults. Any system or program that wants you to sell your energy, your soul, your time, energy, and attention to them, and then uses you as a pawn, that's a black hole. And a black hole can transcend generations, right? Which is why you've had things like different mobs and different cartels and different organizations continue moving through space time, right? Throughout history. Why? Because once you sell your soul, you're not leaving. So it's the thing they don't create. Black holes, people in cults, they don't create, they destroy. Suns make things matter. When you collectively take your life and start to have a point, right? You make a point of existence and you start to bring things towards your life, you start to make things matter. Literally, things start to matter because you're making them matter. If you don't focus that point, you just end up being an empty part of space, right? So there's people that don't do much with their energy and soul, which again, they're just kind of floating space. Other people ignite their power, really find what they want, put all their energy and attention into finding that purpose. Again, working on, their career, working on their passions, hobbies, and interests, working on their physical health, working on anything that adds value to your life, adds value to your soul system. That is what we're looking for, right? We're looking for people that are adding. People that go to black holes are people that don't feel that outside of this agency they have any power. So they could either want a sense of connection, so they're giving themselves to this purpose to have a sense of connection, or they're looking for power, right? And so again, the black hole, it's like the black eye club, whatever you want to call it, the adrenal club, kind of similar, right? You sell your soul. Look at P Diddy, right? Look what's happening with P Diddy right now. He sold his soul. And so once you've accepted those negative energies into your life, you are now part of that system. What's interesting to me too is, like, we used to talk about vampires, right? And vampires, the old saying was, if you don't let them in, they can't come in, right? You have to allow them in your life. Now, if you take this a step further and say, okay, vampires, where does that come from? Well, vampires were just demons. They were considered vampire. Like Nosferatu is a demon, but he's also a vampire. But he's not your classical vampire, right? He is a vampire. He does the same thing where he sucks out your life soul and attaches himself to you, especially someone that's weak of mind, right? And so think about the story of Nosferatu. This girl was weak of mind, accepted this demon into her life, and then when she wanted to get rid of him, it took her with him, right? That's the black hole. And so you're selling your soul to this person because you're telling yourself, I have no value. Instead of finding that deeper connection with yourself and being happy with who you are and the fact that you're alive and your purpose, and then that will bring people to you. Some people want to fast track it, right? And they sell their soul to somebody, they sell their soul to some other purpose. And here's the thing, it's never yours, right? I like to think of it as like, it's like when you join the Avengers, right? They've already been the Avengers. It's much different when you create the Avengers versus when you're joining the Avengers, because when you join the Avenger, you feel like there's always this me versus them, because it wasn't a collective that happened naturally, like the first time, right? When they first get together, it's like they're all part of this thing. They're like, well, I guess we're a team now, huh? And that's the initial connection. That's like a constellation meeting up, right? There was already a constellation. Now let's say another star pops up, it doesn't fit the initial constellation, right? Like, yeah, it's a new star. You can kind of add it and but the initial constellation was already there. They already had their part, right? And so this is again where people sell their souls to these organizations, or like P. Diddy, right? You give yourself to them. And once you invite these people into your life, you have accepted this chaos. You have allowed this to happen. You could say, no, no, thank you. I don't want to add this to my life. This isn't part of who I am. This isn't what I'm going to do. I'm not accepting this lifestyle, and put that boundary down. Yes, they're going to push back. Yes, they're going to try to get under your skin. Yes, But at the end of the day, you did not allow them to infiltrate, so you don't owe them anything. But once they start infiltrating, once they start getting inside of you, that's when they start convincing you and corrupting you and changing you and taking your power away, right? A lot of people, again, that join cults, once you join that cult, that's it. That's your everything. Again, that's the black hole, right? You leave, you can't. That's it. You're when you leave that cult, they'll harass you, follow you, deny your life, and you're starting fresh. You're starting all over. You don't have anybody. You're probably lacking insight because again, what is a cult? It's like a black hole. Once you go there, nothing else matters. Literally, nothing else matters. And so the outside world's like a foreign place when you're in a certain type of environment. Because again, you're not allowed to be a part of that world anymore. So, this is what I'm seeing these days. I'm seeing a problem in our society where you have these people who are not activating themselves. You have people that are getting stuck inside of a system and they can't get out, right? I mean, you can even see there's certain political ideologies nowadays that are would be considered cult-like, right? And no matter what the person does, they're sold, right? You can also see kind of the cult mentality when you're doing like pyramid schemes and stuff like that because you have to convince people to keep selling and stuff. And even though they know the they know that where it goes. They know that they're trying to get out of their debt by making somebody else take on the debt. That's essentially what they're doing. And so, yeah, they have to lie. They have to be in their heart. They're lying, they're manipulating, and this is just taking away our ability to really ascend to a higher purpose. Right. So again, this lady who said, "Oh, your health care, you go to Jesus," that's not what he would have wanted. And this is what you're seeing, that people are not helping humanity. They are super selfish. These people that are full of greed and hate and distaste for the world, we are supporting them. Not me, but people out there are selling their souls to these people because they feel they have no purpose. And I think this is what's really happening is that people have lost the ability to value their life energy and they're just giving it away willingly. And this is the problem. When you're willingly giving away something, right, you have no value. You are telling them, I only have as much value as you're willing to value me, right? So it's like working for a company, right? And you're waiting all the time for them to tell you what to do and how to do it. You're not building value for yourself. You're not building up your value system. You're literally living within somebody else's value system. And the more that you live within their, for example, I told my friend this the other day. Watch. Let's say you work for Amazon, all right, or Starbucks or wherever, right? Every time you do a job for them, whose name's on that? Even if you made the drink, even if you did all the work, you get zero credit for it. Like absolutely, that's not your name. You do all this work for somebody else. So what you're doing is literally providing your spirit energy, your abilities, all the things that you can do to another person who now will take credit for everything that you do and profitize on all of it. And at the end of the day, when you leave that company, you left with nothing. Even though all that work that you did was you. Your spirit did that. Your energy did that. Not anybody else's. You did that. But how much credit are you going to get for that? How much recognition? Absolutely none, because you've sold your soul to this company. You've said, you know what? I'm willingly giving you my energy for money, and I won't say nothing. Because again, you're not going to be able to say, oh, look, I worked at this company and then move on and do something. No, they own you. You're theirs. Right. And so that's why it's important to really understand, like, what am I doing? What value do I bring? What is my purpose? How can I keep evolving as a person so that I can bring value to my life? Right. How can I use my spirit energy to gain a skill, to gain abilities that when I do it, it's my name. It's me who did it. I'm the person that was involved in this. I'm the person that gets to take all the credit. I'm the person that understood the system and was able to move on and develop further. And so for me, it's really important that people really value their time, energy, and attention, really value what their soul can do, what their ether can do, what their divine energy can do in this world, because that's how you start to create your sun, your point. That's how you ignite your spirit, your confidence, your vibration, whatever you want to call it, whatever word you like to use, that is what we're trying to activate here. That is what we're trying to change. We want to change how we operate in this world, right? We have not been educated on how to do these things. Even this, okay, I'll give you a little story, right? So Jesus, right? The original, right? OG. Okay, so when he came into the world, this is a story, so it's all metaphorical, right? At the end of the day, when he came in the world, there was this thing where you had to pay to be able to get to the divinity, right? So all our internal information was paywalled. So if you wanted to know how to activate your higher purpose and power, you had to pay somebody now. It's monetized. Does that sound fucking familiar now? It's almost like they used to sacrifice animals and people, and they used to do these rituals, and they had to pay somebody to know somebody who'd give you the information to tap into God, to tap into the divine, to tap into manifesting, to tap into meditation, to tap into self care. They were not given the tools. Because here's the reality: when you're taught how your mind, body, and spirit work, you have power to understand what affects you, how to change it, how to operate. But they don't want to teach us how to do that or regulate. They want to teach us how to consume, how to dysregulate, how to fight, how to look at TV, right? How many times are they arguing and making problems? How many times do you see people in drama channels talking smack, convincing you, oh, this product of this, or this person's this, or this is that? There's so much distrust, hate, so much anger, but it's been infused in us since we were young children. Again, we live in a society, and a society has levels of it, right? To ascend, to descend, right? And it's no longer so. Society, the problem is you're in a system where the tier system is based on money and power. It used to be based on what you're willing to do for the community around you, right? You would become a leader because you gave to the world. Your spirit had a lot of power to it. You had a lot of dynamic within the system. So that spirit energy that you were collecting, this ability that you were collecting, is what was allowing you to be able to move through life, right, in a healthy way, because you're helping people. Good thoughts, good words, and good deeds. And so when you were a good person, your karma, your collective karma would go up, your energy would radiate, and the way you would ascend in a civilization is by what you did and the deeds that you committed, right? So if you wanted to have a righteous, healthy, beautiful life, you could do that by helping others, by ascending, by finding your purpose, by burning bright, by having discipline, the love, the care, the respect, right? Because I love and care and respect myself because I know life is precious. And when I do that, people can then again appreciate me and love on me. But right now we are more of a black hole than we are any suns. We have more hate, distrust, chaos in this world than any kind of love, any kind of support. And that's what you're seeing right now. That's why we're so messed up, because nobody knows how to be a good person anymore, or the value of that. We've all been taught to consume, to hate, to fear, to distrust. This is what they like. They want that because that means the elite can stay elite. They can stay up there because they don't want to be good people. The elites aren't there because they're good people in this society. In a civilization, that wouldn't work out because the people would understand what the hell is going on. But right now, they've been so confused and manipulated since birth. They're very confused in general. And so this is where I'm seeing that we need to make a change, and it into spiritual change. And it's not, oh, we need to get church and da, da, da. No, 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 no. We need to teach people how their mind, body, and spirit works. We need to teach people that this system is important, that the way Western medicine works is only a fraction of reality. Why does every other civilization for the last thousands and thousands of years have similar ideas about mind, body, spirit, but Western culture's like, nah, prove it? It's interesting to me that they want everything proven, but at the same time, there's a lot of things that they don't prove at all, right? They'll just say, cigarettes are good for you. Prove it. Oh, this study shows that. What study? So what they call proof is manipulated data, right? So what I find is that when they say this word, you got to prove something. They're just taking manipulated data to have an agenda. What I believe other cultures do, what I believe is that really what's happening is that when we take a step back and don't and have a little faith in life and use each other like anecdotal, right, as a community, when we talk to each other and understand things, we start to see what really is going on with life, how things do operate. I the Egyptians, well, I remember this. I used to be a docent at a museum, the Museum of Anthropology out there in Balboa Park. And when I was a docent at this museum, it was interesting to me because they had the exhibit for the Egyptians. And I love Egyptian culture. I used to think it was awesome. I love the art style. I loved like everything, the way they looked, like they just had this way of existing, right? And to me, they're a civilization because again, they were ascending. Look how long their civilization lasted, right? And so you have this civilization, and they believed that your heart was the most important organ in your body. And I remember when I was learning about this, the people there would laugh about that because they're, oh, yeah, they thought the heart was the important thing. But we all know it's the brain, right? Interesting. Because now that I understand how the body, mind, and spirit works, I'm like, no, 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 no. They knew what they were talking about. The brain is useless, the heart is necessary. You can live without a brain, you can't live without a heart. And they knew this and they understood the process. Now, is their entire system accurate? No. But I do believe what they were doing is the way they were talking about their stories. We need to take them so literal, right? Because again, they're a civilization, they're not a society. So a civilization teaches through stories, through insight, through like these epic like moments, whatever, right? They have a lot of like interesting like culture to them, right? And so yes, maybe there wasn't a God that came down in a center, but it's the story of the meaning of what they're teaching. It's more interesting to teach it that way, right? Than just say, this is what happens, this is how it works, and this is what I'm finding too. In therapy, I find it a lot more effective to use metaphors to help people understand things, to explain things in ways where it's like you could call it layman's term, but I just call it easy, better communication or the most organic form of communication. We always told stories. We always would express ourselves through voice and dance. And this has just been what humans have been doing for a long time. And what you're noticing is we're living in a very sterilized society or community. Now, what's interesting to me is they used to call natives savages, right? But the reality is that, just because you're out there dancing naked to the stars and sky does not make you a savage, right? To me, that makes you enlightened. Like you know to take life for what it is. The people that are savages are the people that had to conquer people. Like there's a difference between a warrior and a conqueror. A warrior is a disciplined lover. Okay. So Apocalypto is a great movie for a warrior, right? He can fight, but he doesn't want to, but he's willing to defend. And that is what a warrior does. A conqueror is a savage. A conqueror, it doesn't need to go anywhere, but wants to. They just want to take. They call it exploring. You're not exploring, you're taking. You're conquering. Imagine like you had a neighbor that would just start going around and like just started taking things and say, well, it's mine now. God told me it's mine. Like when you're doing atrocities in the name of God, that's not how it works. That's like the opposite. And this is how a narcissist convinces themselves that what they're doing is okay. This is how a pedophile convinces themselves or what they're doing is okay. It's the same concept. You are taking a very horrific act and validating yourself so that you don't have to feel bad about it. But the reality is you can't feel good in life. You actually can access the great divine. You lie to yourself because people that can access it don't have to talk to people and prove that they can access these things. They know, right? You know that you can access a higher power. You know you can access your chakras. You know you can access your spirit, divine energy, whatever you want to call it, right? You know you can access this. So you don't have to go convince yourself that, oh, I'm doing this because God told me. No, 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 no. Like that's like the classic, right? Like I just want to validate anything I want to do, but that doesn't mean that it's healthy, appropriate, or the right thing to do, right? It does. They don't equate. And so this is where I see the difference in what's happening today and what we need to happen, right? We still have conquerors. We still literally, what the fuck is going on with the government? They're literally fucking conquering people. How often they're like, I'll just invade you. What the fuck is that? We're willing to bomb people, but we can't give them fucking food. What the fuck is that? We're willing to build multi-million, billion-dollar bombs, but we can't fucking harvest food. What the hell? I'm willing to bet you can get a lot more out of other countries and cultures from their people if you just fucking do nice things for them and show them you're not a piece of shit. But I'm willing to bet if you keep fucking bombing people, if you keep fucking killing people, what the hell? You're not ascending civilization. You're ruining it. You're destroying the land, people, all these things. You want them to be better people? How is bombing them going to make them better? It's not. And then we convince ourselves, they try to convince you, not me, but they try to convince people all the time. Oh, it's for safety. Well, okay, a safety is a retaliation from something that's happening actively, not, oh, well, we just decide that we're going to do this and we're going to, no, 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 no. That's not how this works. You can't conquer people and try to ascend them, right? One thing I respect about the Persian Empire back then in the old days, even though they talk the 300, they talk shit and all that. No. Back in the day, there was this religion called Zoroastrianism. And the Zoroastrians believed in good thoughts, good words, and good deeds. Okay, they pretty much were pre-Christian. Okay, I mean, even los tres reyes magos, the three kings that came to visit Jesus, they were Zoroastrians because that's the OG, that's the original. That's where do you think the guy that was 33 years old got a vision from? That's him. He was the guy. So, anyways, this idea is here, right? We have these concepts that have been already in place. And what they would do when they would go to a place, they would take it over, right? They never would say, hey, we're going to make you change your way. We're going to force you. They didn't make them conform. They'd come and say, hey, we want to be here for you. We're not going to make you force you to do what we do. We're going to help you build up your temples and believe in yourself. But if you'd like to come join us and be one of us, you're more than welcome to. This is what we believe. This is how it works. This is what we do. And they gave people the option to join them or not. They gave people the option to be a part of them or not because they understood that human beings are fucking human beings. They also believe that you shouldn't poison the water with bodies and shit. You should respect it. You should respect the land, right? You should respect fire, not burn corpses. They were ahead of their time. Again, we like to say, oh, these people were savages. Why? Because they didn't have a fucking, this house. This is a fucking savage too. It's the same thing. I mean, Studio Ghibli makes whole movies about people that destroy nature so we can build society, so we can build whatever the hell this is. We're destroying the land. This isn't natural. This isn't normal. Where does all our trash go? Where's all our plastic go? Where's all our oil go? Where's all this gonna go? Yeah, it has to go somewhere when it gets destroyed. We have to get this material from somewhere. And so this is the problem. We live in a society where it's not sustainable because we as a collective are what? Are selfish beings. We've been conditioned to be selfish now. We've been removed from what it means to be a good human. And the problem is when you keep removing good humans, when you keep removing the ability for people to be good, you end up in a position where no one's good, where like nobody wants to be good. So it's almost like we're in a backwards pyramid. It's going to be hard to build up when you have so much confusion out there. And not only that, you got things like AI and stuff that are coming along. Oof. Palantir. Oof. You know what that is? Palantir is this AI program that they're looking to implement where it predicts if you're going to cause a crime or not. It predicts crimes. It predicts uprisings. It predicts everything. And then you have another program called Gotham, where it collects all your database stuff. Everything from any database, it's going to collect it. And so they're going to be able to make an entire profile about you whenever they want. Click of a button, start making a profile on you. hmm And this is where we're at. How is that supposed to help people ascend? How's that supposed to help people heal? How's that supposed to help people love? When you have people like Martin Luther King who were trying to march peacefully, and what they do? Make stories about them, try to deny them. Why are we trying to hurt people that are trying to do good? Why do we hate so much people that just want to have rights for people? Like Bernie Sanders, why does he get so much hate every time he wants to be positive? It's so funny. You know, the Christian right wing will say, "Oh, love and peace, love and peace, love and peace," right? But then anytime you ask for love and peace, they say you're fucking weak. You're horrible. Why would you want that? You wanna allow people to take things. You wanna give things away. You can't even ask for love and peace from them. They'll go to church every Sunday and say they love the Lord, they love life, they love. But anytime you ask for any kind of love or any kind of life, what do? Deny you, reject you. Yeah. Yeah, that's the philosophy because it's not it's a cult. They're just trying to use it as a mechanism of weaponry, which is literally why Jesus came, quote unquote, right, to the world because that's what they were doing before. Again, sacrifices, gatekeeping, right? Not believing in love. I mean, he literally got persecuted. I thought about the other day, the Roman Empire. I used to like the Roman Empire. I did a speech about it when I was a kid about the Roman Empire, about Julius Caesar specifically. I even dressed up as a Spartan and everything. Like, I was just, yeah, or not a Spartan, a Roman soldier. Yeah, a Roman soldier, not a Spartan, a Roman soldier, right? And so, yeah, I went in there and I did a whole presentation being Julius Caesar. And now I think it's interesting because, like, you look at what's happening now and then the Roman Empire, right? We're living that now. We're living that now. We have a Roman Empire. We have that. We have a bloated fucking Senate, a bloated fucking bureaucracy. It is literally happening fucking right now. And it's crazy because if there was a savior right now, if there was somebody that was selected, they would fucking demonize this person. They would try to look in their past, anything they can to discredit anything positive they want to do. Isn't that crazy? So you can be a fucking abusive piece of shit husband that's cheating on his wife actively with a porn star while she's having a baby, right? You can be caught up all with Epstein pictures and going everywhere, but no one fucking bats an eye. But if you want to spread peace and love, you're a fucking antichrist. This is what we're living in. This is where we're at. Miss Rachel is being fucking persecuted for wanting children not to get bombed. For wanting children not to get bombed. That's fucking crazy. But yet, if you say bomb them all, who cares? Bomb them, that's okay. But those same people can go to fucking church and say, hey, everything's fucking cool. What the fuck is going on? And this is we're in the same spiritual crisis before. It's like we're back. It's like we went except this time it's even worse. This time it's even fucking crazier because you have things like the internet now. You have like magical devices that can go beyond what humans could comprehend before, right? You have like essential portals on your hand that can just change everything. They can erase you. They can make you disappear, right? They can make a whole collective. They got AI now. They can make your voice say whatever it wants. They can make you do crimes you didn't even do. They can just make shit up. That's how we're at right now. We're in a world where the world isn't even real because there's a fake world and a real world. And the fake world is starting to look a lot like the real world. And then it'll get to a point where we don't even know what's real or fake anymore. That's what's happening. You think right now you're safe, right? As a creator or whatever you are, right? But once AI takes over, there's going to be so much AI garbage in there that who's real anymore? You don't even know. There's going to be a point you won't even know if the videos you're watching are real people or not, or if it's even them or just their AI version. Because let's say I get an AI rendering of me, a really good one. Who's to say it's even me making the videos anymore? I could just make my AI make a whole document, a whole video about whatever I want, talking about whatever I want, give it a whole. I get, you know what I'm saying? Like at some point, as it gets better, you won't even know if it's the person talking. They could just have a whole program where they're talking the whole time, but they're not talking about it. It's not them. They're not actually talking. And this is where we're at. This is the life we've gotten to, where we're dealing with a group of people who, want to destroy society and control, and we're essentially being treated like livestock. Right now, what I see as human beings, I see humans as being treated like Wally status. We're almost in Wally world. Literally, like how many people, take care of their mind, body, spirit, like actively want to take care of it, right? They work out and eat healthy, and it's this stuff isn't hidden knowledge anymore. It's not fucking secret. You just don't want to accept it, and that's the problem, right? You know what it takes to look good. You know what it takes to be healthy. You know what it takes to get your shit together. You are very aware of this, but you don't do it. And that's where I see people struggling and falling apart, right? There's a movie called Onward. I think it's a really good depiction of what's going on with human beings. If you look at what human beings used to be able to achieve when we took care of our mind, body, spirit, and didn't have distractions, we were so much more capable of doing incredible things with our mind. We are a supercomputer. We have a computer brain. People on the spectrum are literally walking fucking hard drives. Okay. And people with ADHD, we're walking processors. All right. Okay. And when I have a friend that has autism, that friend's like my flash. I'm like, yo, how do you spell this? Okay. How do you do that? They're like, they know everything. They're fucking walking like units of storage. We are that. We have been that. We are the walking computers. We are the meat mechanism of the spirit. This is us. But when you make everything so fucking easy and press a button, you just make people so fucking dumb. It's like there's the wild boars, right? If you know anything about wild boars, when they're in a domesticated area, act normal, quote unquote. They're smaller, they're not as aggressive, like they're more tameable. But then when they are in the wild, these same fucking boars, they start activating like a motherfucker. They're like, they get bigger, tougher, like their skin grows, they get crazy. It's like they activate. And I think we are going through that right now. We are going through that right now. They don't want us to be healthy. They don't want us to be active. They don't want us to be ahead. They want us to just do the bare minimum so they can keep collecting our life fucking energy so that they don't have to work. So imagine this. I'm an employee, right? I own a business. Okay. I got 10 employees. I can get to the point in my business where I just have to have my name on the business and do a couple of things here or there, but their energy is what runs my business that I get all the profit from. You know, I knew somebody who was working for somebody else, and they were doing all this work, right? And the other person wouldn't appreciate them. They weren't upgrading the facility. They weren't like working on getting materials on time. And so this person that was sitting in this store is doing all this work, right? They're pushing themselves. They're doing all these things, but the owner didn't care, and they're making pennies to the dollar for the owner. What does the owner really have? The business that he owns it. That's it. He just owns it. And so now he's making all the profit as you're working for them, making pennies so they can run this business. And again, not very well either. And then when you're making double profits for these people and they don't pay you any more, what the fuck is that? Do you see how your energy, no matter how much you put in, you're still only worth this much? That's people's problem. See how the value system's all off? Now, if you had your own business, if you had your own thing that you were working on, you were uploading pictures, you were standing, finding what corner you're going to stand, what are you going to sell, how are you going to sell it? Everything that you do every day towards your own business is what's helping you create your own business. So all the energy that you put in, like I said earlier, is your name, your reaction, your reflection. And so this allows you to really develop yourself, because all the energy that you put in, you're getting it in return. Versus, again, if you start putting your energy for these other people, they're benefiting and not having to stress and do anything, and you're doing it for them. They can just replace you and get someone else. But again, they're making the big money while you're making pennies to dollar, but you're doing all the work with your spirit, your body, and your mind. Okay. So let's talk a little bit about how to activate the spirit, mind, and body. Things I want to teach you guys how to understand it. So from what I've kind of understood about the world, and I've gotten to this point with this, is the first system you're gonna have is your stomach and your heart, which is your little kid brain. First, we start with the stomach. We're just a little stomach. Like literally in the womb, you're just a fucking stomach. All right. Then you develop your heart, right? So stomach, heart, right? Now you're in the second system. So you have stomach, which is desire, and you have heart, which is passion, right? So it's like I want and passion, drive, right? So when these two work together, right, that's the little kid. Little kids are a closed off system, right? I like to think that their higher power, consciousness, the universe, God, whatever, auto mechanism, whatever autopilot, they're already in that state. Kids are already just a self closed, fulfilled system. Okay. So they just have to play and rest, play and rest, play and rest. That's all they want. Now, when you hit puberty, a second part will open up. Now you must stress because you can have children. So you need to worry about what you can do to them. So you need to stress and then play and then rest. Stress, play, rest. So work, play, rest. Work, play, rest. If you don't work, you get stressed. Fuck. If you don't play, you get depressed. And if you don't rest, yeah, it's a problem, right? And so this is the system of human beings. We work in the morning, we play, and then we rest at night. Work, play, rest. This is what I consider the fountain of youth. The fountain of youth is staying consistent with your productivity so you don't stress all the time, having fun so you know why life's worth living, and resting so that you can have the energy, the willpower the next day to do it all over again and do it better with more positivity, whatever, right? So you need this system to be in play. So they used to look for the fountain of youth, but really the fountain of youth is in you. And anytime you talk to somebody who's older, they're always going to tell you, "Oh yeah, I have a young soul, a young heart." And what does that mean? It means that they consistently had the flow going through them. Because a fountain that has water flowing through it remains youthful. The second you cut the water off, what happens? It gets all green and starts falling apart. So it needs that flow to stay within it to be able to continue to stay youthful. So you want to use your spirit as a mechanism to remain youthful in your life, right? So that's how mind, body, spirit initially works, right? Mind, body, spirit. Father, Son, Holy Spirit. Work, play, rest. Same concepts, same things. Okay. So when we understand work, play, rest, then we can apply ourselves to the next chapter, right? Okay. So what does that look like? So when we now figure out that we can take care of the system, we start to align, right? We know mind, body, spirit. When you go to bed, when you're going to go rest, it gets really interesting. So when you rest, you're resting two things, your mind and your body. But what is your spirit doing? And that's the real interesting question. So when you rest your mind and your body, you are going to get your heart rate at a certain frequency. Once it hits this frequency, that's when I believe that you activate your heaven, your other side, your ether, your connection, your projection, astral projection, whatever. The other side of the universe where your conscious state comes from, that part, that thing, that you dream and you have nightmares there. Because to me, you're talking to the universe about what you want and what you're scared of. You're telling the creator what's going on. Now, when you wake up as a kid, when you're little, who do you go tell your dreams and nightmares to? Your parents, which is why to me, it's the equivalent of that. Now, here's what's really interesting about that. So I believe that when you wake up in the morning, you're collecting your productivity stuff and then you're fulfilling up and then you're resting, right? So your soul is works kind of like a memory card, like a hard drive. It's collecting data. Your body is the computer and the spirit is the data, the collector. And so when you have a lot of willpower, you have a lot of drive and energy, it's like you're ready to take on a new day. So as you take on a new day, you're filling up with systems, you're filling up with experiences, you're filling up with knowledge. And then when you go to bed, you have to upload that knowledge into the ether. You're uploading your data to the other side. You're giving it. And that's why to me, when people don't rest appropriately, they haven't released all that information into the ether. They're still holding on to aspects of their soul. And then so it's like they lack will drive, like willpower and fulfillment and drive because they're still full from the night before. Imagine having a phone or a camera with a memory that wasn't completely like uploaded, and so you can only take half the pictures. And so when you see a computer or a phone that has too much memory, like, or too much, like it's too full, it starts to glitch. It even has like hallucinations. It'll start opening apps and acting weird and just shutting off. This is the same thing I think happens to humans when we don't sleep. Our spirit needs to unload or update the processes, right? And that's why I think people start to hallucinate, because their system's not operating at proficiency, because they didn't upload all of their spirit information. They'd have no drive. That's why you wake up and you have no drive. You could sleep 9 hours, but if you don't fall asleep and dream, you didn't actually rest. So physically you're rested, but you're spiritually not rested, right? And that's the thing, right? So if you're spiritually not rested, you have no drive. If you're mentally not rested, you can't focus. If you're physically not rested, you can't move. And if you're spirit like not to like move, but like you're just tired, like physically, like I want to so bad, but my body doesn't work, right? But then drive is I have a physically healthy body and mind, but I can't go anywhere. I have no heart. And see, heart has to be able to hit that rate to be able to go to the other side. I also believe this is the same mechanism that people use when they're talking about meditation, right? You're resting your mind and your body so that your spirit can reach that, that middle ground and then elevate itself, right? So you're trying to find that middle ground here. So to me, mind, body, spirit is really important to understand. I also believe that your spirit is what we would call your magical abilities. And I'll tell you why. Spirit allows you to do this really crazy thing called predict the future. I don't know if you've ever done that, but we call it anxiety. But you're able to put yourself in several scenarios that haven't happened. You can create these scenarios in your mind, and you put yourself in these scenarios, and then you're literally what? Playing it out as if it's affecting you. So if you remember any kind of movie where there's an oracle or Thor in that one movie where he's like, like they're living in a future that hasn't existed and it's affecting them. Tony Stark, when he was like seeing all the dead bodies and right. So it physically will affect you. That's why nightmares affect your physical state, right? That's why when you have anxiety, it affects your physical state, because you're putting yourself in stressful situations that haven't happened yet, but it's physically affecting you now, which is the same thing as if you go back and revisit the past. You're remembering, you go back to a past state and you're actively putting your mind there, and it's affecting the present, which is why people can get depressed when they think about sad things, because they're putting their spirit in that other realm and it's affecting the present state. And that's why the universe, when you live in the now, is giving you a present, right? So you want to live now because this is when miracles happen. What is a miracle? A miracle can only happen in the moment. It can't happen in the future because it's not a miracle anymore, and it can happen in the past. So when you live in the moment, life starts to give you all these little miracles, all these little opportunities, all these little things start to come up because you're actively living now. I like to think of miracle as Easter eggs too. You can't see an Easter egg in the movie if you don't what? Watch the movie appropriately, or one mindfully, mindfulness. So when you live in the moment, you can activate your spirit at its fullest capacity, its fullest state. And that's what gives you that drive. That's what gives you that ability to push forward and utilize the most amount of your energy when you're living in the moment. Your spirit is also a way to look at your voice, right? Because when you're way too anxious or way too depressed, you lose the ability to want to talk. So, like, I just don't care. I don't want to talk. But your voice is what gives you magical abilities, because your voice can curse people, bless people, it can create, can destroy. Your voice has a lot of abilities. That's why silence is so powerful, because if you can silence somebody, you take away their ability to have power. Because just with my words, I can convince people to give me things. I can convince people to kill each other. I can convince people to love me, hate me, anything with just words. If somebody's being chaotic and in that chaotic energy, and I give them a blessing, it hurts their chaotic energy, hurts that little demon in there. If someone's like trying to act, mean with me, and I just look at them and say, "Hey, you know what? I believe in you. I know one day you'll figure it out. I know you're a smart person. I believe in you, and I hope one day it all works out." If I say that to them, it kills them. They don't know how to respond. They're stuck. They're like, "What did he say to me? He just ruined my day and my life." Ugh. Right? Because what am I hurting? I'm hurting the evil in them. I'm hurting the bad one. I'm hurting the hater, right? And that's what I want to do. because I'm blessing them. So when I bless people, the chaos in them doesn't like that, but that's okay with me. I want the chaos there. I want it to hurt them because it's not hurting them, it's hurting a version of them. It's hurting an entity living within them, which is that chaos. So when you stay convicted and you say something at somebody, and depending how you say it, you could either curse them or bless them. If you curse somebody, remember, people that are chaotic love curses. They love being cursed because it empowers them to keep being mean. It empowers them to keep being evil, right? But if you bless people, it really messes with them because they want to be evil, they want to hate you, but you're not giving them what they're looking for. So there is a part of them that will feel bad. There is a part of their soul that can be saved, but they have to want to change that, right? But the only way you can save people is they have to be hit with the truth so much that they're not wanting to live the way anymore. I don't want to live this way anymore. I don't want to be bad. So they have to be able to accept that they don't want to live that lifestyle anymore. And I've had people do that with me. I've had people who try to talk smack to me, try to talk down to me, who try to make fun of me. And when I talk to them, and I talk to them with kindness, love, and I understand where they're coming from, and I get why they think that, I get why they feel that way, even though it's not my opinion on that. I just go with the flow. That process opens people up a lot more than calling them out, making fun of them, because again, they're gonna run out of steam. There's only so much hate you can give me because again, I'm you're not gonna like I live my truth. I have a lot more truths than lies. So my life is good. Like I like my life. I'm happy. They're clearly not happy. And that's going to sit there and bug them because if they can make me unhappy, they're winning. But if I'm not affected by them, it's going to affect them a lot more than it will ever affect me. And this is what I'm seeing, right? Again, you have abilities. You have the ability to even manifest, right? So you got to get a desire, right? Use your willpower, and then what? Or a craving, and then willpower, and then manifest, right? What does it look like? What I want? What do I want to achieve with this? Your spirit has so many different abilities. It has the ability to heal you. It has the ability to push forward. You can even cast a blessing for yourself when you're needing a moment to get through a hard time, and you're like, "Please give me this opportunity to prove to you." Give me like you're saying these words to yourself so that you can empower yourself. That's the crazy part. You, it's this energy, like willpower. How do you measure that? There's no test. There's no blood test. There's no like device. It's an internal thing, but it's real because if you don't have the willpower, you ain't go nowhere. If you don't have the willpower, you can't talk, right? You can't express yourself. So this energy is real and it can be destroyed in an instant or it can be created in an instant. It's like the Matrix, right? When Neo keeps getting up, that power, he's like, just stubborn, right? But that's called willpower. How can you determine how many times someone's going to get up that day? You can't, right? It's not something that we can measure like that. It's something inside of them. It's something else. It's something beyond. It's the miracle, right? It's like how did they get up again? How did it work? How did that function, right? And so that's when you see divinity come into place because it's not understood, but it's definitely something that's there. Again, we all have willpower. We talk about it, heart and spirit, right? We talk about it. I got no spirit. I got no power. We talk about these things because they are real. We just don't quite understand what we're saying sometimes. We don't understand that it's fascinating to me that there's words that we've been using for generations and we just say them, but we don't really know that they're actually really important things. Like the truth hurts, right? We all joke about that, but who's the truth hurting? It hurts people that enjoy chaos. So it's actually very factual. And that's why they react. They have two choices. They can either submit and say, "Hey, I messed up," or they can continue causing chaos and being miserable people. But the truth hurts, right? Also, the truth will always be revealed. Why did we say that? Because again, look what's happening with the political system, right? They keep saying I'm gonna do this, is it, but the truth, what over time, it's revealing itself what their real intentions are. You can say, "Oh, I'm not racist," or "I'm not this, I'm not a bigot," but when you keep doing actions that are, you don't need to say it anymore. You are showing that you are. You are actively being the thing that you say you're not. So your words have no value anymore. I'm just gonna pay attention to what you do. And so again, people that are chaotic love that. And I'll teach you something else too. There's two versions of people that are chaotic out there. There's narcissists and there's borderline. Both these people struggle with having a consistent heart, right? They lack balance. Narcissists struggle with empathy, and borderline struggle with critical thinking. So they don't think before they speak, or they speak before they feel. So they're just already like I don't care. They don't have any emotional standing. So again, these extremists will consume the souls of other people around them. Why? Because they don't have a purpose. So you become their purpose. You become their focal point. You become the thing that they want to destroy, right? Because again, they turn into almost like an addict in a way, like an addictive behavior, because addicts have a very specific mechanism that's happening. They struggle living in the present because they're anxious that people are going to know what they're doing, or they get depressed about living the life that they are. And so they end up living in the past or in the future, not living in the now. And the only time they can live in the now is when they're doing their addiction. That's when they feel most comfortable. But once their addiction's not there, they're always worried about someone getting knowing what they're doing, knowing that they're being bad, knowing that they're not being consistent, knowing that so they lose the privilege of living now. I also find that people that lie, or people that are toxic or unhealthy people, they tend to have nightmares and struggle with dreaming, so they try to avoid their dreams because they don't want to go to the other side and have a conversation when you know who, and be like, what have you been doing? How you been acting? Da, da, da. So they're trying to actively avoid that relationship, and which is why they try to numb out their dreams and numb out their things, because deep down somewhere in there, especially when they're talking to the other side, it's telling them that they're not okay, that they're being horrible people. It's reminding them, which is why they're always so cranky and sensitive, because they've lost the ability to have a soul. They've lost their ability to live in the now, right? And again, if they would just be good people, good thoughts, good words, and good deeds, and just lift people up, they wouldn't have this hate in their heart. They would have more love. And they've made love so corny. They've made these things so corny because this is toxic people. Chaotic people don't like love. We've perverted the word love. We've made it this thing it's not. Love is having compassion for fellow humans. What's wrong with having fellow compassion? It's interesting. People only want compassion when they're in need, but they don't know how to give compassion when they're not in need. And it's like compassion's just about being a healthy, consistent human being in this planet. So sometimes we need to take a step back and say, okay, what's happening with me, and why do I feel this way, and where did this idea come from, and where do these insights come from? Because I bet you if you start analyzing some of the people that gave you this information, you're going to start realizing real quick, are these really the people that you look up to? Are these really the people that you want to be modeling your life after? Like, is this really what they want? So remember, like, what did Christ say, right? He said, live like me, like live like me, not worship me, but embody me. How many people are embodying, taking care of yourself, loving yourself, having discipline, right? Working, resting, right? Playing with others, understanding the world that you live in. How many people take the time to respect the education that they need, right? The insights that they lack. And that's really the issue there. You have a group of people in our society who are enjoying the chaos that they live in. But that doesn't mean that you have to be a part of that chaos. Every star in the world is surrounded by a void. Every single star. That's what it is. The earth is surrounded by a void right now, right? We're in a void. But that doesn't stop the earth from having what? Things matter. Just because there's a bunch of black holes and empty space doesn't mean there's not a bunch of creativity and cool things happening at the same time. So remember that. It's if everybody became a black hole, then nothing would matter, right? We'd all be ants. And it's actually what the idea behind why do we have free will? Why doesn't God just tell us like control everything? Because that's the whole point. Then he'd be a black hole. You wouldn't be able to leave. You wouldn't be able to the option to leave. He's more like the sun. You can leave, but then it gets kind of cold. But you don't want to be too much in the sun because then you're gonna get burned. You can't be the sun, but you definitely need it to survive. And that's kind of what you want to be like, right? You want to embody that. It's like, hey, look, you can be around me and I'm warm. You can't be me, but when you're not around me, you're gonna get cold. But the only way I can do that is again focusing on what my deeper purpose is, focusing on my passions, hobbies, and interests, my independence, my future, my self respect, and just see where life takes me. Allow life, allow the universe, allow existence to show me what my greater purpose is. And that's what I got for you guys today, man. Hopefully, you guys enjoyed today's topic. I mean, I know it's not the usual from what I'm talking about when it comes to my kid life and stuff, but we're in such a crisis in our society that these things need to be talked about. These things need to be expressed. It's getting pretty wild, and my priorities are I need to educate people and help them ascend, help them understand that they have a deeper purpose, help them understand that these people are gatekeeping information from them and they should have the right to know how to take care of their mind, body, and spirit, and why these elites are doing the same thing, but they're taking all the advantage and then monetizing it and selling it to you. Okay. All right, guys. I'll see you guys in the next one. Later.